little bit of the presentation that I started with. And then I'm going to swing Jessica in at the end because she has some knowledge above and beyond what I know. So, a little bit about me. There's an acorn up there. I bet you never guessed where this whole presentation started. Anyone?
Wood badger.
Steve Chamberlain's wood badge, 23-1. I went in there as a person that had a kid that, actually let me back her. I went because my husband went twice and had such an amazing time that I needed to go out and find why it was so wonderful. Because he missed 2 birthdays and I was like, this better be amazing. So, I decided to be different, go to spring course, and I ended up with a fabulous team, Steve being in charge. So, our son had just crossed over, or was just getting ready to cross over, and I went from being the fun, bouncy, happy-go-lucky mom that was there running all of his little den meetings to being, oh my gosh, I don't have a job, I don't know what to do. So, my 5th thing to do on my ticket was to present and tell my local roundtable, which is Gateway, about my ticket. It just so happens it was October. Does anybody know what October is? It is Mental Health Awareness Month. And it turned into me giving a 5-minute presentation to, hey, do you want to do the whole thing? And I, of course, said, sure. I love it on the fly. So, that just happened to be our new district executive's first ever roundtable, and she said, who's your disability and inclusion chair? And they go, we don't have one, and she said, I want her. And the rest is history. So, here we are. This is a very brief run-through of the things that is on the Nationals website, because the actual book is 289 pages long. And you can also have it for free from Nationals website under Resources, Disability Awareness. It's a lot. But it is very, very helpful. What do you do? One of my favorite cartoons of all times. I figured out a long time ago that each of these characters has a disability. I don't know if anybody else noticed it, but each and every one of them. And so my original presentation started out on $3.25 backboards from the 5-quarter store and some glue and duct tape. And my favorites are the ones that you will probably see the most. Depression or sadness. The little kids usually say he's sad, and I say, okay, fine. What you're getting is a very similar presentation that I gave to the Cubbies, as well as the troop. With the troops, I go into a little bit more of mental health awareness and what to look for. With the Cubbies, I try to keep it a little bit more fun, and they have a good time diagnosing the cartoon characters. They're all Piglet. Oh my God. Anxiety. He's always shaking. He is. What can't he stop doing?
Stress eating.
Yes. The kid has no impulse control. This one is the reason that you're going to have to go search for a scout. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, okay? This is the kid that's going to be going, I really, really want to do that, and just wander off on their own without their buddy, okay? There's also speculation because that he might also have autism because he repetitively counts all the time and does a lot of really repetitive movements on the cartoons.
He's all jacked up on honey, it's sugar.
It could be. He probably has diabetes. What about one of my scouts gets narcissism, and I would also agree with that one. But it's literally right in the picture. He has dyslexia. And if you look back in the older books, he's either holding things upside down like scrolls. Yeah. But he's super smart. He knows everything because he's taken the deep dive and hyper-focused on whatever he's doing right now. We all have this one. I don't care what anybody says, everybody has a ticker in their pack or their troop, and if you don't, you're wrong. Anyone? ADHD, however you want to put it. How many, per the CDC, in 2013, which is on our national website, there's no updated numbers, how many, one out of every how many young men under the age of 18 or boys under the age of 18 were diagnosed with ADHD and autism? 42.
Yeah, it's one out.
They tentatively think further on the website that it is, in our case, because Scouts attracts a lot of youth, they're very exuberant and have very passionate ideas about the outdoors and being outdoors, that it's as low as 1 in 15, and that does not shock me. What shocks me is their estimate that only 1 out of every, 289 girls have it, which I think is super high. But they also present very differently. I mean, the girls are able to sit down for a little bit longer than the boys are. Sometimes, not every time, sometimes. And they're not tested as often as boys because they don't present the same way. What about Rabbit?
OC.
Yes. He's very particular about that garden. Very particular. And he gets angry when it's not right. Not rude.
Not rude, she's perfect.
Where does he hang out? In a confined space. Who else likes to hang out in confined spaces to feel safe?
Aside from cats.
Aside from cats. I know a lot of kids with ADHD and especially autism and ADHD mixed together that really, really like to hang out in safe spaces. And the guess is that he also has autism. Or AUHD, which is autism and ADHD mixed together. I think we're going to see more and more of those diagnoses as time goes on because kids can cross over, which you'll see in a minute or two because I have a Venn diagram. It's very exciting. Then we have some honorable mentions. They're not Winnie the Pooh characters, but they are the ones that I also tend to see as a health officer and someone that works with kids with special needs. These three. Sorry, that would be a text message. So we have Wheezy. I mean, it's fairly self-explanatory, but he has asthma, right? You probably know of at least one kid in scouting with asthma. You have Sheldon from Nemo. He's allergic to water, and he lives in it. Generally, the kids that are coming to camp are allergic to either a food or something environmental, and they swell up like a balloon after they go play in it. And then you have Pearl. One of her tentacles is shorter than the other, if you didn't know the answer to that. And that's just like having a kid that, has a leg that's a little bit shorter than the other one. They can still all be part of Scouts. We might have to adapt an activity. Can we adapt an activity?
Yes.
Absolutely. And National says that there are lots of ways we can adapt it, including alternative merit badges for Eagle Scouts, which we'll get into later. If you didn't know that's a thing, it is a thing. All right. Neurodiversity describes the idea that people experience and interact with the world around them in many different ways. There is no one right way of thinking, learning, and behaving, and the differences are not viewed as deficits. I found this on the Harvard website because I really liked what she had to say. They're really not very different. They just might have a different outlook. And you know what the best thing that you can do? Harness it. I guarantee that one kid that's in your troop or pack that you suspect has ADHD or autism, they will go on a deep dive of hyper-focus and find out just about anything you challenge them to do. They love a challenge. If it interests them, it could be weeks of watching movies, reading books, checking websites. If you harness that, it's amazing. Amazing. I don't know if you can see this or not. I hope you can. But this is the difference between ADHD and autism. And the reason I chose these two is that I feel like this covers a lot of the kids that you guys are going to have in your troop or pack. So ADHD tend to seek novelty. They're motivated by new and exciting experiences. Absolutely. Like, they love that kind of stuff. Attention regulation, persistent, trouble focusing, except in the highly interested. If they're not interested in it, they don't care. Or it's harder to get them to care, I should say. Difficulty with social cues, absolutely. I will use my own child as an example. He has high functioning autism mixed with ADHD, and he is incredibly intelligent, but he has a really hard time reading body language and facial expressions. And one year he had a teacher that my other two kids had, and I said, it's gonna be a rough year for this kid because she, even for me as an adult, is rather hard to read. And she always stands like this, and she's always smiling. So she's got the body language and posture of being angry, but her face says, I'm happy. And I got an email and said, this is what happened. She said something to him, and he said something back, and she goes, you hurt my feelings. He goes, that's okay, you hurt my feelings every day. He goes, you look like you're happy, but you're really angry, and I don't know how to read you. He was like, if you want me to be happy with you, then I guess you need to learn how to be a better person. Now, this does not shock me, or probably Martin, coming out of our son, because he can be very blunt. However, he's not wrong. You know, if you have somebody that's really hard to read, and you're already suffering, you know, from a cognitive issue, if you're that person that stands like this all the time, and is like this, and you're hard to read, don't, please. Because they'll never want to come up to you. You will never be a safe space to that kid. Interest-based system, once again. If they are not interested in it, they're not going to like it, which is why Scouts is great, because they can pick, you know, create their own adventure. I love those books. And they're able to create their own adventure. Hyperactivity and impulsivity, I feel like that one's pretty self-explanatory to ADHD. Autism. Let me go to the other side so I can read better. They seek familiarity. My kiddo, after he went to his first summer at summer camp without mom and dad, oh boy, he goes, I'm never going back. And I said, why not? He goes, all I wanted to know is how many things I had to do before lunch, and after lunch, how many things I had to do before I could go swimming. That's it. He just wanted a leader to tell him that it was 4 things until lunch, and then 4 things until swimming. Does it have to be that hard? No. Some people just like to make it that hard. It's a surprise or whatever. That's not what they want to hear. Preference for routines. Same thing. Difficulty with social cues. They don't know who's a friend. They don't know who's a foe. They don't know who to talk to and who they can trust. So they need to find out on their own by talking to that person and figuring out from body language and how you confront them and how you deal with things, whether or not you're a safe person, because that's the only thing they know how to do. Tendency to focus on a single interest or activity. Hello, we've all gone down a rabbit hole before. Every single one of us. And the hyper-focus in autistic kids more so than the ADHD kids is definitely more of a challenge at times. For a long time, our kiddo was heavily invested in fish, specifically sturgeon. So I learned a lot about sturgeons for like 3 months, and I never wanted to hear about them again. The need for verbal context. You cannot assume that just because that kiddo that struggles with keeping themselves on task and wants familiarity is ever going to remember what you told them last weekend and they're supposed to do it again. You need to go, do you want me to go over it again, or do you think you have it? And when they say I have it, they say, oh, you need to say, okay, tell me. Because that kid wants you to be happy with them, and they're going to say, yup, I got it, when they really don't have it. Now, the interesting part is all the things in the middle, right? We all have the kid, little Johnny that's at the PAC meeting and he's back there stimming. Does everybody know what stimming is? It's how people with neurodiversity, whether it be ADHD, autism, or a mental health disorder, how they kind of self-soothe. I see it a lot more in the evenings when the kids' medications are wearing off. Little Johnny's back there going like this in a meeting, not making noise, not interrupting everybody, everything's going on. The last thing you need to do is go, Johnny, hey buddy, why don't you come over here and sit down? Does he look like he wants to sit down? Johnny does not want to sit down. Johnny's minding his own business, not making noise, doing all the things that he needs to do. At the end of that meeting, if you ask Johnny what you talked about, he's going to be able to go A, B, C, D, E, and then you went back because you made a mistake and you told me about F. He's the one that's going to remember each and every word that you said because he is self-soothing himself to the point that he's able to concentrate on any word that you say. Anybody notice that kid? Anybody have that kid? I like that kid. Listen, just because you know me doesn't mean you get to call me out on all my faults, okay? My medication wore off hours ago. I was that kid that fell through the system because I was a girl and I did not present as a boy. I struggled from kindergarten to my freshman year in high school, and my parents shipped me off to Watterson and they said, whoa, 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 you don't do that here. Because in 1989, we didn't do that here. So I went to Marburn Academy, and it changed my entire life. I went from failing every class to them harnessing my strengths, and I graduated valedictorian. You can do that. We can absolutely do that. So the other things that are in the overlap is sensory differences. We're gonna kind of skip that one for now because the next slide is sensory processing disorder, which we all need to discuss. Emotional regulation. It happens to adults too, but a lot of little people need to read this book, The Boy with Big Feelings. But so do some adults. Because I have seen adults have a lot of really big feelings on scouts that just didn't understand. We all have them. Higher rates of substance abuse and various other things. That's not as important for us as it is in the real world, but it's something to notice, especially as they get older. Executive functioning difficulties, just daily life. And there's a slide, we're gonna kind of skim over that one too, because there's another slide after this. Increased risk of victimization. If they're, I hate to say this, but some kids with neurodiversity are easy to become friends with if you make yourself a safe space. And once you've made yourself a safe space, it could be easier for them to become a victim, and we don't want that. Divergent thought patterns, they think of things in a different way. I'm going to use a wood badge example so you will know what I'm talking about. I'm the only girl in my patrol. I'm sitting there. I have severe adult ADHD, and they tell us to walk, okay? I don't walk. As soon as I have to go like this, my brain does not compute, and I was throwing string over my shoulder. One of my little bear patrol was like, and he flips it over upside down and he goes, I got it. And he wobbled upside down from a blurry picture in a book this big, because that's his jam. Special interest in passions, once again, hyper-focus, neurodivergent microtasking. I can do 3 things at once. I can watch TV, plan this presentation, and talk to my husband all at the same time, and it works. And I tend to remember most of the time what I say. Eye contact. I get emails and phone calls from parents and people that are worried about their kids because somebody went into a BOR and he had done all of the work to do this BOR and he failed his BOR because even though he had everything that he needed, he didn't make good eye contact. This youth is a no neurodivergent. If they have all of the things needed in order for that and to move on, is it really worth failing a kid just because they didn't look at you the whole time? Have we ever heard of the song by Avril Lavigne, Complicated? It's right here in my phone. Why you gotta make it so complicated? You don't. The answer is, you don't. People like to make things complicated, and it just makes life harder on them, and it makes scouts not want to come back. Don't be the reason that they don't want to come back. And once again, we're right back to passionate focus. If you notice, focus seems to be a theme, as well as sensory processing disorder. Oh, the other thing about this, there's a whole bunch of these that fall into the gifted category as well. Some of them might fit all three categories, so just don't try. Does anyone have questions before I move on? Okay. Sensory processing disorder, or SPD, is a condition that exists when your brain has trouble processing certain sensory signals. As a result, you may become hypersensitive to sight, sound, smell, texture, feel, or taste. Anybody have a kid in their pack or troop with a safe food list? That kid has sensory processing disorder. And it's not just that they're a picky eater. Picky eaters, this is above and beyond picky eaters. This is the kid that if you said, oh, don't worry, they'll eat when they're hungry. No, he won't. This kid will not eat when he's hungry because none of his safe foods are there. I have that kid. So I send a box of safe foods with him to supplement what he does not try or is unable to try because of texture or smell. Here are a few of the examples that kids with sensory processing disorder have. I don't like to brush my teeth. I don't like bright lights. Some smells really bother me. Fish. Some of them don't like the smell of bacon. I know it's crazy, but some of them don't. They're a picky eater. It's way above and beyond that, but that's what's on this one. I'm clumsy. My kid trips over his own feet all the time. So do I. I have poor gross motor skill. I don't notice that one as much as I notice some of the other ones on this list. I don't like being touched. When it comes to these disabilities, there are kids that are super into touch and they'll grab your hands because that's what they need at that time. They're very tactile. But then there's the other kids that's like, I need you to have at least 2 feet of space between me and you because I don't do that. I like wearing the same clothes. Yes, that happens a lot. We need to encourage them to change their clothes. I know that there's always that group of kids at the end of every week that's like, I'm gonna see if I can be the stinkiest one. I applaud you, but you will be showering before you get in my car. But you should at least encourage that kid to change their clothes. I crave fast spinning, which is one of those self-soothing things in stimming. Poor body awareness, they're really floppy and they don't know what they're doing, they're just kind of everywhere. Sensitive to loud sounds. I don't like to brush or wash my hair. I like to smell people and objects. Yes, yes, and yes. They do like to do that a lot. I don't like to wear clothes. Obviously, that one is not an option ever. I don't like tags on my clothes. As soon as my kid gets a new outfit, that's the tags option. I enjoy being squeezed or pressured. That goes back to the sensory processing disorder and being sensory seeking. Those kids are difficult. Those youth are difficult because there's certain rules that we have to follow as leaders. Like, we're not supposed to hug them. But if a kid runs up to me and hugs me from the side, I'm gonna go, okay, buddy, and you just kind of have to go, all right, go off, play, because you don't want to not be a safe space, but you also want to make sure that you are okay with the interaction that's happening. I feel like most adults know that that kid is hugging you because they are sensory seeking at that time. Let's see here. I don't want my hands dirty. Yes and no. I feel like that one applies just as much to OCD as it does to sensory processing disorder. When I get overstimulated, I have a meltdown. Yes, absolutely happens every day. They're hot, they're hungry, they're tired, they miss mom and dad, you get a breakdown. Let them reset. Give them 5 minutes to go over, have a refresh, reboot their software, whatever they do in order to make that happen, and move on. I get fearful and anxious. I feel like that's one of those broad statements that could be anyone. I overreact to minor scrapes and cuts. I think that's definitely killing it. I cling to adults that I trust. Yes, they absolutely do. And sometimes I walk on my toes, and they do that as well. It's a known thing. Any questions about these? I would say that the biggest ones are light, sound, and taste. You agree, Jessica? For like the most part. So if I have a kiddo that is, particularly overwhelmed by the campfire on night 5, I'm gonna let you put your earbuds in because it's not noise canceling. You can still hear directions, you can still see what's going on, but it gives you the chance to like wear something over your ears. My favorite thing for that is loops because they have noise canceling, noise reducing, and noise censoring, so like more background noise so you can hear talking. I find those, and you can buy them multi-packs on Amazon, they're pretty amazing. If they're super sensitive to lights, like, I know it's not always appropriate to wear sunglasses, but if you see that that kid's about to go into meltdown mode, I think we might be able to make an exception just for today. And then the food thing, you know, I like yogurt, but I don't like chunks in my yogurt. Whatever the case may be. I like bananas, but they have to be whole. Like, if it's cut in half, I don't like it anymore. It's a shape thing, it's a visual thing, it's whatever is up here. So this is a new addition to my presentation. I decided to ask the scouts that I knew had disabilities and had struggled with some things. This is what they're afraid to tell you. I'm tired of leaving campouts hungry because nobody cares about me. That was not from a cub. That was from true level. If you are that leader and you plan your meals 6 months in advance, I commend you. But if you have somebody new join the troop and join that patrol, please help that kid out. Make sure that there's no triggering foods on that list or things that they can't stomach or have an issue with. And if so, suggest to mom and dad that maybe they bring or send safe foods in case they will not or cannot eat that. If a leader yells at me, though, I could have gotten fired over this one because it happened and I saw it. So if a leader yells at me and I yell back, I'm the only one that gets in trouble. We have a troop level kid in Ohio that has a skeletal deformity, hiking to a campsite, and he goes, I need a break. I didn't realize this hill was that big. And his leader turned around and said, Dear God, hurry up. Sir, this youth has a skeletal deformity. He can't just hurry up. I don't agree with what happened after this, and I'm not condoning either one or the other, but only one of the two got in trouble, just so we're all aware. Not okay. If there is a kid that has a disability and you cannot deal with that kid for that minute and you're about to have big feelings, I can go, up Martin, I need to go refresh my water over here. You go to your car, you scream in your car, and then you come back and you're an adult again. We have a way to regulate that. They don't always have that function, depending on how old they are. We have to be the bigger people. And if you do yell at a kid, you should kind of go be in trouble. Sorry, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. You shouldn't be yelling at kids. Unless they're in danger, let me preface. If I have a problem, who do I tell? They all hang out together and they're all friends. I don't know who I can talk to. Be that safe person. I tell another one all of the people, but on the second weekend, there was one that came out of the dining hall where they were having fun, and we were down playing a game, and he was like, do you mind if I just hang out? Sure. And it was just nice that he came in to check on us, to like make sure that we were doing what we were doing, make sure we didn't have any questions, and he was like, I love what you guys are doing here, have a great night. And I was like, ew, he's a safe person, he's safe, because he came and checked on me. Be that person. I guarantee you the kids will talk to you. Sometimes I just need a second to myself, don't we all? I do. Just a second. And they don't have to make it so hard. I mean, it seems self-explanatory, but once again, some people like to make things harder than they need to. I have a box of fidgets, and I literally keep them in the back of my car. My favorite fidget are these, because they're sensory, they're quiet, unlike this one. These guys, you get them at the 5-quarter store, they come in 8 in a package. I got these at Hobby Lobby for $1.79. As long as they keep it in their pocket and they're using it appropriately, it is a great stem that doesn't weigh anything, and they're able to take it with them wherever they go.
It's just a small.
Yeah, they're small bombs. The reason I went with the pom-poms is because I took a conflict resolution class for kids. And they use puppets. Scary. I didn't name it. The tactile kids will come up and they like love on Gary. So if a scout is having really big feelings to the point where I can't even redirect them in my own way, which I feel like I'm pretty good at, I'm like, do you hear me? And then they're allowed to have a scout language approved conversation with Gary. And usually it's like, I always have grapes at noon, and my leader would not let me have grapes at noon. And now I feel like I'm not on schedule because I didn't have grapes at noon. And then they're like, okay, I'm better now. But to them, that was it was worth feeling that bad because their leader wouldn't let them have grapes at noon. Once again, we're going back to the schedule kids. So, the little pom-poms are Gary Juniors, and that's kind of what we do. They can name it whatever they want. If they are not acting appropriate with Gary, they can say, well, Gary's gonna hang out with me for a half an hour, or Bob, or whatever they name it, and you can earn him back. But he's really good for conflict resolution, and he's not. All right, I think.
Lisa, I have just a question.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it's like those first couple questions.
Yeah.
We ask those in the board review with each of the scouts every time. So board review is, asking how they feel about certain things, what their goals are, but we'll ask questions like, has there been a time where you don't feel safe?
Right.
And so give them places where the scouts can share.
Yeah.
Theoretically, they get 1 or 2 maybe board reviews as they're through their first couple years of scouts. But they know that it creates a safe space. We'll ask them, what would you like to do in the next year of scouting? What would you like to do in the troop? So where they may not want to or not feel confident yet to speak up in front of the larger troop, we can, as the adults in the board review, we can help encourage them, and then we know, hey, we can help them navigate and build the confidence that they need throughout the next couple months. But it also helps them, they know they can talk to some people that will listen and be understanding.
As long as you're a safe person.
Correct. Yes.
Because if they're in a board of review with somebody that they're like, I don't know this person very well, they're new to me, or I heard them yell at somebody else, you're not going to be a safe person. And if they are indeed neurodivergent, you are probably not going to get the answer that you're seeking. However, they will eventually find their safe person, and that will come out. But it has to be a pair because you guys are in there as twos. So it has to not only be one person that they're safe with.
And totally understood.
Yeah.
It makes total sense. I guess where my brain is going is we try to, rather than having the scout come and try and find, we try to offer those opportunities.
No, I love that.
Where the scout, whether they feel safe or not, at least it's an opportunity for them to, giving them an opportunity to
Yeah, you've put your safety net out there for them to jump into if they so desire. Love that.
Hey, I have a question.
Yeah.
So, the Wolf Den, you got a bunch of crazy second graders.
Yeah.
And one of the experiences that I had was we had one that was maybe a little bit more crazier. And after a few weeks, the parents, the father came to me and said, yeah, we're adjusting his medication and all of that. And that was for me, that was very helpful.
Yeah.
It was more of an understanding piece, and then it allowed me to understand and redirect when needed with this scout. So that was great. So where do you draw the line from? I'm a leader. Am I a diagnoser? Am I just looking for behaviors? Am I looking for the parents to tell me, or is it all a combination of those things?
So when I had a cubby and I was a leader, I would hand out like just a piece of paper that says, what's your kid's favorite thing? Like, tell me a little bit about your kid's strengths. Tell me if there's anything that you think I should know. Do they have any food aversions? Or is there anything that they're afraid of so we can either try to work through it or skip it out altogether? The parents know their kids. And if you can, or the guardians, whatever they have at the time, also works. Because we have quite a few kids within scouting that may not have parents, but they have somebody that knows them that's dropping them off, whether it be a foster parent or a guardian or a sibling or whoever it is that's in charge at that time. Once you get to know them just little by little, or if you notice a change, start with the parents or them and go like, hey, you doing okay? Is there anything I can do to help? And then work your way up.
What I tell you is every couple of months, I'll reach out to the parent and say, are there any new triggers?
That works
So,
too.
well, it's just like, if you look at allergies, same thing with kids, the allergies change. When the triggers change, when you know as a leader, even though the parent might be at the event, it helps out as well, especially long-term camping.
Yep. I don't go long-term camping. I send my husband because I'm generally the safety person when it comes to food and all that kind of stuff. So I find it easier if I stay home and send somebody else. So that way he can't run to me every time he needs something. All right, I think we're almost done. Come up here to your thing. How you can help get to know your scouts. Find out a scout's strength and harness it. Be a safe space. If you're having big feelings, take a break, and that applies to everybody, scouts, leaders, staff, whoever's there. Allow a scout time to reset if needed. Patience is a virtue. Remember that they are kids, some with special needs, and be the kind of leader that you want. Kind of a big deal. And there's my oak tree, kind of great throughout the hour. So there's a lot of things that that I'm still new to because I did not help out with a lot of things. So you guys in Polaris District now have a similar position to me, and it's Jessica's Smith. So she's gonna come up because she is amazing with ISAPs or individual scouting plans as to where I am not, and she's gonna do a little intro to say hi. My apologies.
So I'm going to keep this short and sweet because if you read our winter newsletter, take giant adventures and they conquer things that they're afraid of and have great adventures. And so when we look at our advancement, there are a lot of ways that we can alter that. And it isn't taking away from the program. Lisa mentioned that there are some merit badges that you can kind of swap out in place of merit badges that maybe can't be completed by a scout. If a scout who's wheelchair bound, they're not going to complete their hiking merit badge, probably, unless they have an all-terrain wheelchair. There are organizations that will provide those for them. I've seen them at scout camps. Scout Camp in Pennsylvania has a few of them that they own. So my goal is to be a resource for you guys when you are like starting at your recruitment step. So before you have a scout in your unit that you might struggle with because you don't have the tools to help them because maybe you didn't know what you needed. So from the recruitment standpoint, like, hey, you're interested in joining us, here are all the things that we can do. Are there barriers for your child? And how can we help to get outside of those and provide accommodations? A lot of confusion lies around those individual scouting engagement plans. They're called ISAPs. They tend to follow along the same type of documentation trail as a 504 plan or an IEP plan at school, but they don't have to. But that's a very easy way to leverage that if you have scouts that have those. And those can be from anything from mental health issues to allergies to physical disabilities to neurodivergence, any of those types of things can come with different accommodations at school. So anything that you need to do in your family, because all of our kids are different, right? I have a whole household of them and they're all different from each other. And different things work for different children in our homes. And so different things are going to work for different children in our troops. So when scouts are struggling and you see that they're struggling, there may not be a disciplinary problem. I think old school scouting, many decades ago, kind of focused on this is the program, this is how this goes, these are the requirements you have to meet, and you need to come talk to me about it, then you need to sit down and be quiet until it's your turn to talk again. And we have moved outside of that to include not only young ladies in our program, but to include everyone. And so we have an incredible toolkit. So I encourage you guys to go back to your email, look at that winter newsletter, and go into the Able Scouts links that are listed. That goes into a lot of different ways that we can work together. But I want to be able to be a resource to kind of empower you guys as leaders to when you're working with each other, and then also to be those examples to your scouts to include their peers. Because if we as leaders don't know what we need to do to help certain scouts and to intervene in certain situations, to provide adaptivity or to provide program changes in certain situations, our youth